Hello, welcome to part 12. This is quite a few videos on this now. So I'm going to be re-waxing the reeds, which I've been involving into the reed block. So what I'm going to do next is get the wax heated up, and when it's at the right temperature, I'm going to apply the wax to the reed block and then apply the bulbs. So to start with, the wax is proper reed wax, which is beeswax with rosin in it as well. So I'm going to put that into my pan. There we go. So I've got a little saucepan, put it on here, and I just put it on a low heat. It takes a while for it to heat up, and I've got a little collection of brushes. So these are my brushes. They're just little paint brushes. So I've got a couple that I like. So I'm going to try that one. I think that one's quite good as well. So I'll leave those there for a minute while that heats up. So the wax is just heating up until it's nicely molten. And while it's doing that, excuse me, I'll talk through my technique. Now there's different techniques of doing this. This is the one I really like. When I put the reed onto the reed block, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some wax, and the first I'm going to put, when it's molten wax, with a paintbrush I'm going to put a nice even layer of molten wax on the reed block and the sides, the top sides, and then the top edge where the hole is for where the air goes in and out. So once I've got a nice coating around there, I'm going to squeeze the reed down onto that wax and push it down onto the wax so it actually sits into that wax. Once that's in place, I'm then going to put another little layer around the top, the sides, the end, and that side there, and then I'm going to put a bit of extra on the next side bit of the reed block, ready for the next reed. And then so the next reed is going to have some wax all the way around its kind of reed chamber, ready for it to be squeezed down into. Squeeze it in, and then just go around the top and bottom, put a new layer around, ready for the next one. So what I've been doing is putting a nice layer of wax onto the reed block, ready to squeeze the reed onto, and once it's squeezed in, and I just finish off with a bit of waxing around the top and the bottom, and then get ready for the next one. So I'll show you that in practice. There are other ways of doing it. Some people like to get a reed spoon and drip the wax down in between the reeds, but I prefer this way, which I find really works fine as long as you do it carefully, and it makes it quite a lot less messy than trying to drip wax down between the reeds, because it just tends to go everywhere. So once the wax is heated up, I'll show you how I start to wax the reeds in. Now one thing I forgot to mention, which I've done, is I've changed the size of the reed chambers, because the new reeds were very slightly bigger than the ones that came out. The key was changed, but also they're just different reeds. So to do that, I've had to very, very carefully, with a very sharp craft knife, is just elongate the chamber at the end here. Now just be very, very careful and just scrape away the wood. It's quite soft wood, it's not really hard wood, so it's not really tough, but just be really, really careful so you get a nice, neat finish. I've made the reed slots the chambers longer. So very carefully with a craft knife, I've extended the chambers and then finished off with a little bit of sandpaper and make sure it's all nice and clean on both sides to accommodate the slightly bigger reeds that I've used. Another thing I forgot to mention, always have a cup of tea ready as well, because you need a cup of tea when you do a job like this. Okay, so the wax is just starting to become nice and molten. You don't want it too hot, so if it starts to smoke, then that's too hot and it's just burning. So you need to have it just at the right temperature. So I have it on like 2 on this hob and I keep it at 2, don't get any hotter, because I don't want it to start burning and smoking. If it starts to smoke, you've had it. So that's now just getting to a nice melted consistency. So I leave it a couple more minutes just to get it really just right, and then I'll start to use my little brush and start painting on the reed block and start waxing in these reeds. Okay. So what I'm doing now, I'm going to put my little layer of wax, even layer, across each side along the bottom and across the top. Once that even layer's in, keep my brush safe there. I'm going to put my first reed on, making sure I've got the 2 little lines facing me. Get that reed centered over the reed chamber. That's on, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go around the bottom. I'm going to go around that edge there. Along the top, and then I'm going to just put another little coating on the edge where the new reed is going to be coming along. So that's all coated, and again I'm going to go along the bottom, up the side. So a nice even coating of this really nice wax along the top. And then reed number 2 is going to be pushed into place. There we are, centered over the chamber like so, and then again go along the bottom. Go along the side, go along the top. And in fact, because we've got quite a nice gap, I'm also going to go along the inside, because that little gap is big enough to get my brush in, so I'm actually going to go in inside them as well. There we go. There we are. Now, that's 2 started. Looking good. So I'll do the other ones all the way along, and I'll show you the final result when I've finished waxing these in. I'm just doing find a little bit more recording here, Sarah. So.
Are you doing it now?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. And there we have it. So I did put some blue tape on the edge just to protect the end of the reed block. Oopsie. Just to make it look nice so I didn't get any drips. And there are, that's my finished waxing of the reeds. So I'm quite happy with that. Nice and neat. Everything's in tidily. What I'll do next is I'll just spin it over and repeat it for that side. So once I've done that side, I'll just have a quick recap and show you that both sides are waxed in. And there we are. That's me waxing in. Okay. Okay, all done. All waxed in. All nice and neat. Using the paintbrush technique. And I think the key thing about doing it this way is doing it really carefully, having a nice little brush, having the wax at the right temperature, just taking your time, really doing it carefully. So I think as with anything on these melodeons, if you take your time and do things carefully, it should come out fine. So I'm quite happy with these reeds that have been waxed in. The next thing is leave it for a day, and I'm going to pop this back into the melodeon and just see what it sounds like, see how tuned or out of tune this reed block is. Okay, there we are. Thank you for watching.